You've been exhausted all day, and then when you lie down at night, your body won't cooperate. Either you can't fall asleep in the first place, or you fall asleep fine and wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning with your mind just running, already solving problems that don't need to be solved in the middle of the night. You lie there, watching the clock, figuring out how many hours you have left, trying to tell yourself to relax in a way that somehow actually makes it worse. By the time morning comes, you're already behind before the day even starts. If this sounds familiar, here's something worth knowing. For most women in midlife, this isn't insomnia in the traditional sense. It's a specific, well-understood pattern driven by hormonal and nervous system changes. And it's far more common and far more misunderstood than most people realize. Sleep in midlife breaks down because of two things happening together, and understanding both is what changes how you actually approach fixing it. So let's start with the hormonal piece. Progesterone has a natural, calming, sleep-promoting effect on the brain. It supports GABA, your body's primary calming neurotransmitter, the chemical that tells your nervous system that it's safe to settle down for the night. As progesterone begins declining in perimenopause, that calming signal weakens, which is a big part of why falling asleep can start to feel harder even when nothing in your life has changed. At the same time, fluctuating estrogen affects how your body regulates temperature, which is why so many women in this season experience night sweats and hot flashes that pull them out of deep sleep, sometimes without even fully waking up to notice that it's happening. And then there's cortisol, which we've talked about before. Cortisol is supposed to follow a rhythm, high in the morning when you get moving, and gradually declining through the day so you can wind down at night. But in a chronically stressed system, that rhythm gets disrupted. Cortisol stays elevated too late into the evening or spikes in the early morning hours, which is exactly why so women wake up between 2 and 4 a.m. feeling wired, anxious, or completely unable to drift back off to sleep. This isn't a willpower problem, and it isn't poor sleep hygiene. It's your hormones and your stress response interacting in a way that directly disrupts how your body sleeps. So, if cortisol is in the middle of all of this, the next question is what's actually keeping cortisol elevated? And this is where I want to slow down, because most women just think about stress in one way, the psychological kind. The worry, the mental load, the overwhelm. The thing is, your body doesn't categorize stress the way that your mind does. To your nervous system, stress is simply any demand that requires a response. And those demands come from 3 different directions, and often all at once. The first is the one we all think about. It's emotional and psychological stress. The mental load of carrying everyone else's needs, worrying about the future, unprocessed grief, or resentment that's sitting just beneath the surface. The exhaustion of performing and acting like you're okay when genuinely you're not. This category is really easy to underestimate because so much of it is invisible. But it does keep cortisol elevated just as powerfully as anything that you can primarily see. The second is physical stress, and this one actually surprises people a lot. Exercise is a physical stressor, and it's not a bad thing. Your body needs it. But too much exercise without adequate recovery, or not enough exercise or movement that doesn't match where your body is hormonally, will actually add to your total stress load instead of relieving it. The idea of exercising more comes from the fact that most of the population is sedentary, but that's not true for everyone. So if you're already exercising more may not actually help. In addition to exercise, injury, surgery, illness, chronic pain, those are all types of physical stress, and your body treats all of it the same way, as a demand that requires a response. The third is chemical stress, and this is the category that most women have genuinely never considered or heard of. It's the quality of the food that you eat. Heavily processed foods, refined sugar, artificial ingredients. Those all create inflammatory response that cortisol has to respond to. Alcohol is another significant chemical stressor, even in small amounts, which is exactly why it disrupts sleep, even when it feels relaxing in the moment. Medication can affect cortisol patterns, along with everyday environmental exposure, so chemicals in the cleaning products and synthetic fragrances, pesticide residue, general pollutants, things that's in the air that you breathe, can interfere directly with your hormonal system. And you don't have to be living somewhere extreme for this to matter. Low-level exposure simply accumulates over time. So here's the reframe that I want you to hold on to. Stress itself is not the enemy. We actually need it. Physical stress builds strength. Psychological challenge builds resilience. And short bursts of cortisol are completely normal and healthy. The right amount of stress, followed by genuine recovery, makes the body more capable. The problem isn't stress. The problem is stress without appropriate recovery. When stressors from all three categories stack up at once, your body never gets a clear signal that things have settled. Cortisol stays chronically elevated, and your sleep is often the first thing to suffer for it. This is also why two women can be carrying the exact same physiological stress and end up with completely different cortisol patterns. One is recovering adequately across all three categories, and the other isn't. And the gap usually comes down to stressors she didn't even know she was carrying. The second piece of this is your nervous system. And that's the part most sleep advice completely misses. By the time you lie down at night, you've often spent 14 or maybe 16 hours building up stress from all three of these categories: managing, carrying, responding, absorbing. And your body doesn't have an off switch. You can't go from full activation to deep rest just because your head hits the pillow. What your body actually needs is a transition, a genuine signal, not just a thought, but something your body physically registers that tells it the day is over and it's safe to let go. Most women never give themselves that signal. They go straight from doing to laying down, from scrolling to trying to sleep, from worrying to wondering why they can't relax. And a nervous system that's still processing the weight of the day keeps one eye open because that's exactly what it was built to do. So before we get into what helps, it's worth understanding what's actually at stake, because poor sleep isn't just about feeling tired the next day. When you're chronically undersleeping, cortisol rises further. Your hunger hormones shift. Ghrelin, the hormone that drives appetite, it increases, while leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, decreases. Insulin sensitivity drops. Recovery from exercise slows considerably, and your mood becomes harder to regulate, and the brain fog gets worse. Everything that we've talked about in earlier videos, the cortisol load, the hormone sensitivity, the difficulty with weight, all of this gets amplified by poor sleep. Sleep isn't a lifestyle preference in this season of life. It's the foundation everything else is built on top of, and it deserves to be treated that way. So let's talk about what to do, starting with the thing that matters the most. The single most important thing is building a genuine nightly signal to your body that the day is over. That's not just a bedtime routine in the surface sense, but something that actually reaches your body, not just your mind. Most advice stops at dimming the lights and putting your phone away. Those things do help, but if your body is still processing built up stress from all the 3 categories we just covered, it's often not enough. This could look like 5 to 10 minutes of breath work, where your exhale is longer than your inhale. That extended exhale directly activates the part of your nervous system that's responsible for rest. And it's one of the fastest, most well-researched ways to shift your body out of a stress state. It could look like gentle tensing and releasing each muscle group from your feet all the way up to your head, which gives your body a physical sense of completion. It could also be as simple as laying with your legs up against a wall for 10 minutes, which shifts circulation and sends a strong rest signal to your system. The specific format matters less than doing the same one consistently at the same time every night. Your body learns patterns, and over time it begins to anticipate the shift before you even start. So a few supporting habits makes a real difference too. Protecting the hour before bed matters. Bright light, screens, emotionally charged content, work emails, difficult conversations that all tell your body that the day is still happening and cortisol needs to stay elevated. This doesn't have to be perfect. Even a loose boundary in those final 45 to 60 minutes before bed will give your cortisol room to come down before you lie down. Stabilizing your blood sugar before bed matters as well. When blood sugar drops too low overnight, your body is going to release cortisol to bring it back up, which is one of the most common reasons women wake up between 2 and 4 a.m., feeling alert and anxious for no obvious reason. A small protein-based snack before bed, like a few bites of chicken or hard-boiled egg, can help to smooth that out. This isn't permission for a full meal, just a small strategic buffer. And getting morning light within 30 minutes of waking ties back to everything that we've already discussed. It resets your circadian rhythm and starts your cortisol curve at the right time of day, which makes it far more likely to decline naturally by evening, so you feel genuinely sleepy at bedtime instead of tired but wired. So if you ever needed a reason to watch the sunrise, this is a really good one. Poor sleep in midlife is common, and it is not a character flaw. It's hormonal and nervous system pattern shaped by more stressors than most women ever realize they're carrying. And it responds far better than expected once you start working with it instead of trying to push through it. You don't need to fix everything tonight. Just start with one consistent wind down practice and give it 2 weeks. Then layer in the rest one at a time. Small, consistent changes will do more for your sleep than any single perfect night could. If this has helped make sense of something you've been living with, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, and tell me in the comments, is it falling asleep that's hard for you or staying asleep? I'd love to know which part of this has landed for you. I will see you in the next one.